Welcome to At the Table, a podcast from Quest Fellowship Church. In each episode, we explore how faith intersects with real life, how we navigate culture, community, and personal growth as followers of Jesus. These are just conversations, not conclusions, and space to simply think deeply, listen well, and walk in this journey together. We hope you enjoy today's show. So we got a couple new things on the podcast today. This is my first time on the podcast, but also we have Nehemiah with us as the government name. Pretty much everybody other than your parents call you Nemo.
Yes, even
correct.
The only person that calls me Nehemiah is just my dad.
Yeah, okay. So I feel like your mother calls you. Did she call you Nemo?
She calls me Nemo, yeah.
I feel like okay. Well, anyway, Nemo and I have known each other for like 6 years at this point. We spent a lot of time together through COVID because me and him were grinding out this online church a lot here throughout the week. And but yeah, we had a lot in common. Both pastors' kids, both kind of grew up in that like the expectations and everything that comes along with that, and I think a lot of times I found myself probably putting more expectation on myself from what I assumed people would want from me than the reality was. But we spent a lot of time talking about that. But for you, like you spent time this summer in New York and Thailand on this kind of this for the sake of the gospel on mission out in the wild. And we're in the series right now called Multiply here at Quest. We just started it, and I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on multiplication, on mission. Like, what is that? How has that changed for you over the years, just growing up in the church? And then we'll get to the trip in a minute. But I kind of want to start there. Like, what is your view on like that whole concept?
Well, sure. I mean, a lot of the times I was like a product of it. So like my dad feeling called to be led to certain job titles definitely changed. It's the only reason I met you in the first place. It's
true.
when he felt the burden to move to North Carolina, which originally I'm from Illinois.
Yep. So
I guess it was an obstacle for some times in my life because like I was happy in my own hometown, in my own routine.
Yep.
And it was like, why is God telling my dad to do something that he didn't tell me about that? God didn't ask me if I wanted to move. So stuff like that.
You kind of held captive.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I don't know. I guess my view just broadened more so after going to school. And then the church I'm at is like really missional minded.
Yep.
And so I thought to a point it was a little flawed too, because like keep the same energy like local. So I also had like a bad view of it in that kind of regard. Like people are always trying to be zealous and go overseas.
Right.
But I see a need so much at these local areas.
Yeah.
So it's like keep that same energy at your hometown.
That's fair.
You don't need to go overseas to all of a sudden
feel
like you're somebody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and going overseas is fun.
Right.
You get to see new things, do new things, like and so there's like a selfish aspect to that too.
For sure.
But we live in America every day. There's a lot of brokenness.
Yes.
A lot of areas where Jesus is clearly not celebrated, not acknowledged. And we see the result of that all the time. And like to your point, it is, because I think when you hear mission, you do think abroad, and you hear multiply, you do think like when I hear multiply, I think plant churches.
Right.
That's like the first thing that comes to my mind. But it's really an individual mindset is what multiplication is, right? Like in a sense, you grew up, like you're saying, moved around with pops, right? at all the churches that he was a part of.
Yeah.
And then you landed at Quest, right? It's kind of your last stop before you became an adult, right? And so like now you've left Quest in a sense with that foundation of faith that you've had to figure out for yourself, but it was also instilled into you growing up.
100%.
And now, you've acknowledged these giftings you have, you've acknowledged the things, that God's clearly equipped you with, and you're able to like do ministry. And that is multiplication, because now you've left, you've gone to another church, multiplication is happening through you there and then beyond, right? So how do you feel the foreign mission, the local mission, and like how does multiplication apply to someone maybe who's like not necessarily on staff at a church? Like is that what you feel like you're kind of in right now, or no? No,
I definitely say I'm in the midst of that. I mean, because he said, go and make disciples of all nations.
Yeah. Oh.
And like teaching them. But it's like you don't have to, that doesn't apply to people that are just in vocational ministry. Sure. It's like if you have a 9 to 5, would people know like, oh my gosh, that dude's a Christian, or would they be like baffled? Right. So I mean, like just living your life is like a reflection of the gospel. I've heard like a quote saying like, share the gospel 24/7, speak if you need to, because like your life should be,
that's good.
Your life should be
seeking
the gospel all the time.
Yeah.
And like sharing Jesus should be like it's like a mindless thing.
Right.
So I guess that's like the biggest thing is like it doesn't have to be glamorous and doesn't have to be go on these trips, which are great. But we can get into that more later. But we haven't said it's like there's goers and then there's senders.
Yeah.
So not everybody is called to physically go, but everybody is called to support missionaries, support missions in general, if that's abroad or even locally.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Like, yeah, because I think sometimes you think, oh, I can't go on mission, or I can't spread the gospel because I'm not good at speaking to people. But like, what was the quote again? It was
that you should be living. You should preach the gospel all the time. Speak if you have to.
Speak if you have to. Yeah. I think that's beautiful, because it's like, yeah, sometimes it's cliche as it sounds, actions are louder than words.
100%.
And so if you're living the gospel, if you're actually out there just loving on people, like that's why I love Quest's partnership with Food for the Hungry, because they meet the physical need first.
Right.
And so, if you go into communities and you immediately preach, but they're still hungry, like, or you preach and they still don't have, clean water, or they don't have the things that they need just to make it the basics.
Sure.
Like, it's what good is that, and sometimes, like, I think we have to equip people with the basics and love them like Christ would have, meet them where they are, and then down the road you build that relational equity, and then those conversations can happen.
No, I agree.
Right. So talk to me about this trip, man. So you did New York and you did Thailand. What was like? What were you doing? Just give me pretend I don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
give me the whole thing.
It was called City Project. It's through Summit Church.
Okay.
Mercy, the church I'm at in Charlotte, is a plant of Summit.
Got it.
So it was 5 weeks for me, and one of those weeks were spent in New York. Another 2 almost were in Charlotte locally.
Okay.
And then a week is abroad. So my location was Thailand.
We're
gonna get to that.
Yeah.
New York, it was insane.
Okay.
There's such a vast population. It was kind of akin to the point of like there's the world is coming to you in terms of like America. Like people from all over the world are moving here every day.
Right.
And so the neighborhood we were at in Queens was called Jamaica. And in Jamaica, Queens, dog, it was insane. It felt like I was in a totally different country, because like all these restaurants were foreign. All the people there barely spoke English. Like people, they were just first generation all over the place. And so we were able to get training on like how to reach different religions, how to talk to Sikhs, Muslims, Hindus, how to reach them where they're at, how to talk to them in a way that they can even understand the gospel. Because not even all those religions have a framework of like a creator God.
Right.
Or like, like for Hinduism, it's like, of course, I have several gods.
Right.
So we were telling them about Jesus, and they're like, oh yeah, I love Jesus, but I also love Baal. I also love this cow god.
Crazy.
And it's like no, like they're separate. So even just learning of like different religions, different frameworks, and it was just really cool to be able to like be in community with those people, and how like loving and nurturing those different cultures are. Yeah. Like I was able to speak to random people in the parks, and they'd like go buy me lunch, and we like have long conversations.
That's crazy.
Over dinner, and they would just be eager to hear the gospel or just hear about my different experience as an American. So that was really a great way to start off City Project, because it just kind of blows your expectations of what the gospel could do.
Let me ask you a question before you keep going. Why do you feel like what made that work? In the sense of like, how could you just go up to somebody?
Oh, I was terrified.
Yeah, but I'm saying what do you think made it work? Because like we all know the guy at the gas station handing out Bible tracts. We all know the dude on the street corner, or like the brickyard preacher at NC State University that's near here. Like everybody talks about that. So like, what do you think was different? You're on the streets in New York. Yeah. Why did it work?
Not Bible thumping.
So what does that look like? Like pretend I'm dude on the street. Like what is that? What is that even? Like, what does that process look like?
So it depended on the context of what we were at. Sometimes we would just walk around and be like, hey, we're just walking around praying for blessings on this community. It's like, who doesn't want to be blessed? So a lot of the time people would just stop for that and say yes, and then you just talk to them.
Right.
Or these people were very obviously like not from America. So that was like such an easy gateway. It's like, where are you from?
I got you.
What's your favorite dish that your mom makes you? Just talk about like, what should I eat at this restaurant?
Just talking about life.
Yeah, and they would love to talk about it, because you get to reminisce about home.
Yeah, engaging with their culture, like
100%.
asking about like, okay, what? Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's like a good lesson. It's like, not Bible thumping.
You're treating them like a person,
as a person. Yeah, as opposed to a project.
Absolutely.
Or like a transformation. Like, we'll get there. Like Christ will do that.
Yes.
But let me just get to know you as a human being. That's good. So New York, and then
then Charlotte.
Okay, so what were we doing in Charlotte?
That was a lot of the staff just like pouring into us. So like we had like a lot of lessons. It was all like a lot of the theological parts of it.
Gotcha.
And then we were serving like at local ministries, so they wanted to make sure we were still serving our own local community.
So it's both.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
You were talking about
it was
earlier.
cool.
That's good.
We were able to work with like foster kids.
That's
we
awesome.
made like beds to give away for free and stuff like that. So
That's awesome.
That was cool. It was nice to be poured in and see like the underpinnings of our church more so.
Sure.
And then having like more intimate time to talk and connect with staff and have them pour into us. That was really cool because like you got to peek behind the curtain. It was
Right.
like we were invited to their meetings.
Right.
Things like that. It was
That's awesome.
It was cool.
That's awesome.
But obviously the main event.
I was going to say, so Thailand.
Yeah.
Let's get to Thailand. You know.
Obviously the main event was Thailand, which was buck wild.
Yeah.
Like it was awesome. It took like 36 hours to fly there.
Crazy.
But it was worth it.
That's way too long to spend on a plane, man.
Dude, what?
That's insane.
But no, it was awesome. In Thailand, it's such a Buddhist culture. So these people don't even believe in like a creator God. They don't think it's worth even investing in like eternal life. Why I think about that, it's like really just now in the present.
Yeah, they're making the most of what they got.
Oh
right
yeah.
here.
They're like, I'm worried about today.
Yeah, interesting.
So it was just a different climate than I was used to.
Right.
But man, the people were so kind.
Yeah.
And I mean, just being able to learn more about them and like really beginning to dig in. The specific trip I was on was really just heavy on shadowing the missionary partners we have over there.
Okay.
So it was really cool just to see like the day in the life and like the nitty gritty.
Right.
Like it's not sunshine and rainbows all the time.
Yeah.
Of being a missionary.
Yeah. I mean, because it sounds exciting because you're like, oh, I get to go over here and do this and be in this country and see all this cool stuff. But yeah, so what is that? What is the nitty gritty of that? Did you see?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of the time it's like you only have the relationships passed on from like other people's faithfulness. That was like the biggest thing. Like the missionary partners I was with, the people that started that like was 40 years ago. So the fruit that he's now able to like live in and like experience these people saw no fruit back in their day.
Crazy.
So now he's able to like see like someone's past faithfulness on their end, that he's able to even do his work, like meeting these people, meeting like the local Thai believers, which is like 1% Christian in that country.
Yeah.
So like it's hard to meet those people.
The few, the proud.
Oh,
you know?
for sure. They're on fire now. They love the Lord.
That's
for real.
awesome. That's awesome.
So it was definitely a lot of that, like the language gap.
Right.
He had like a young family, so like raising a family while trying to learn a different language, trying to acclimate to being all over the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely eye opening.
Man, yeah, that's wild. Like, cause you don't really think about. We've talked about this before in our staff meetings and stuff and devotions, but like in ministry, you talk about fruit. Like you almost we're not promised we're going to see the fruit. We're just called to faithfulness. Like that's it. Like are you willing to be faithful even if you never get to see the harvest? The harvest will come, but you may not be the one to go and collect it. You know, like you're saying, like but then the people that are there now are sowing seeds for the next generation. You know, like for the youths to come in and be like, okay, 10 years from now, this is the fruit of that time, and that's really cool. So, like, what was the kind of stuff you guys were doing? Like,
so we were like learning a lot. So the pastor at the church in Thailand, he talks about like Buddhism because he grew up Buddhist and Christian, which was a wild upbringing. And then we were also able to meet someone who's a former monk.
Crazy.
And how like his conversion into Christianity was through this place called the Center.
Okay.
Where we were mainly serving at. So we'd go to like the local university, and this place called the Center was like a 5-minute walk. So you would go hand out flyers, meet people on campus, because we would invite them to go get English lessons for free.
Right.
It's the place to get community, place to hang out, all that jazz. But it was all the guys. It was the front.
Yeah,
that was the front. But the real point is the missionaries there were teaching them English, but they're also teaching them about the gospel. So it's like, I'm gonna teach you English, but I'm gonna talk about Jesus. That's the deal we got.
Yep.
And so eventually those people like come to faith or ask different questions, and those local ministry partners will like start discipling them. And then so now you have a bunch of Thai Christians that are now going back to their campus, inviting more people to come back. And that's multiplication in
I was about to say, there you go.
So that's what we were really involved in, and that was the best part.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean that literally is multiplication. That's what it should be. Like, what do you feel like? And I don't want to. You don't have to tell your plans fully, but what do you feel like? You know, like what's your takeaway? Like what do you? How do you feel you're different from that this whole summer?
My biggest thing was trying to make sure I didn't keep treating it like a vacation because obviously a lot of my friends went. I was going to New York City.
It's fun.
I was going to Thailand.
It's objectively fun.
I had a blast.
Yeah.
But I had to make sure, like, really lock in, like,
Yep.
this is the side project, having a blast. Like, I wanted
Yep.
to see God in a new way.
Yep.
I wanted my perspective to be so much broader.
Yep.
And so coming back, I definitely think it is. Like,
Yeah.
God is so big, so vast.
Right.
Like, going to the Thai church, hearing people, like, worship in Thai and in Chinese, like, that was a world altering experience. From, like, I took communion in a different country with believers and it looked the same.
Yep.
Because, like, we have so much in common through Christ.
Right.
And it was beautiful.
Right.
So, I mean, like, I rode an elephant.
That's crazy. Yeah.
It was like, man, God is so kind to let me ride an elephant.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You couldn't tell 8-year-old Nemo that was going to happen one day.
Right. I mean, right. I mean, I remember, you're 20, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, when I went to Indonesia for the first time in Tawe, I remember I was probably, because that was 2016. So I was, 19, 20, somewhere around there. And at that age, being able to experience something like that and being quite literally on the other side of the world. And not that you have to go to these type of places to do that, but I think it's good for us as human beings to experience culture that aren't ours. And I think that's the God's beautiful tapestry that we talk about here, that 100%. He's weaved. And it's like, and sometimes, you got to leave the house. Yeah, man. You got to walk out that front door and you got to suffer through. It was very similar to Indonesia, 36 hours ish in the air and then a 5-hour ferry, right? To get to the Mentawai Islands. But once you're there, man, like, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'6", right? Flying is not fun for me, especially for that long. But I mean, I vividly remember the minute after 3 days of travel, we get off the ferry, and you see all these smiling people that are just like thrilled to death that you're there, for one. And then, of course it's beautiful. I mean, you're in the Indian Ocean, so this is like tropical. Yeah, man. It's gorgeous. And I'm on the back of a moped, all 6'6" of this, on the back of a moped with, my Indonesian driver, Gumboy. That's what they called him. They gave me the best driver because I was the biggest dude. So imagine me and him on this moped. Okay. And but I remember like thinking, like, I had all my camera stuff, and you're driving down their I-40, which is like, a concrete sidewalk basically. And man, there's just like, you can almost like, there's like a palpable joy. Oh yes. In the air and in the culture, in the people. There's like a buzz, and it stuck out to me, like instantly worth it. Oh, all the travel, like the minute, I mean, like all the annoyances just went away. And what I realized is like, these people are so content, and they don't have much. Most of them, they're just, it's island time, baby. Like, there's no plan. Some of them, they might work, but they might get to work at 10 one day and 8 the next day, and might not show up the next day after that. Like, that's just what they do. And there's a beauty in the simplicity of that. And I think like, we're so used to the go, and have everything at our fingertips, the instant gratification. It is nice to like take a step out of the American bubble. Even though the American bubble is great, there's great things about America. I'm not saying that our country is bad, but I'm just saying like, it is important, I think, for us to experience those things and experience things like outside of just our comfort, because it is a little scary. No, yeah. Going to another country, you don't really know. Like, I don't speak the language. What am I going to do? What's the food going to be like? Was Thailand food good? The food was. I'm sure. It was amazing. Thai food's my favorite here, but you never know if it's like American Thai or like like if we're doing it the real way. But yeah, so like, what do you feel like? I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, what's changed for you? For sure. Like, as you've kind of acknowledged the giftings that God's put in you, because I know you, I know what you're good at this point in life, pretty much, and I see a lot of stuff in you, but I'm not one to push people down a road. I like to see the people figure it out for themselves. If you ask, I'll be glad to tell you. But that's kind of the way I am to some degree in that regard. And but I know what you're good at, right? And so, has that changed? Because you're in college. You're what, a junior? Yeah, man. I'm about to enter my senior year. You're about to enter your senior year. So like, has that changed at all? I mean, you don't have to give spill the tea here, but just asking. Yeah, one of the biggest transformations was when we went to one of the Buddhist temples, and I was able to see like this giant Buddha statue surrounded by several smaller ones. So you're gonna be Buddhist now? Yeah, I think that's the new takeaway. I was like, wait, these kind of people are on to something. Just kidding. But no, it was like heart-wrenching
Like I was like, oh my goodness. As soon as I walked in, like the lostness and like overwhelming feeling was like, it's very possible that someone has never even prayed in here. Like,
wow.
Or it's they have very few times. And like, there's just no place I've been before that was probably the case. But it was like, you just go in there.
That's a wild thing.
The spiritual difference was just like insane.
Huh.
And seeing people just like sobbing and like having offerings to Buddha and like actually bowing down to statues.
Right.
Just like kind of blew my mind.
Right.
Yeah, man, it was pretty hard to see because these people were like so desperate to find something that I know that
They're just
I have
grasping at something
for sure,
Yeah.
and they were grasping for Christ, but they didn't know that.
Yeah.
So they were worshiping statues instead.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I felt really grieved for them,
Yeah.
but also just the fact that like Americans have so many of our own idols. So, like I was also like really convicted. I was like, I'm out there looking like this is crazy, but
what am I bowing at?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd be bowing at the same stuff too.
Yeah.
So I was really just upset at the people that had so much bondage, and it was like, there's no way I can see this and like act like I never did.
Yeah, go back to just
for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of my trip was to meet other missionaries as well.
Okay.
And one of them said to us, it's like that's how she really got into it. Is she was like, I have to make an account one day when I stand before Jesus, because like he showed me this,
right?
And he's gonna be like, how did you see this,
right?
And you didn't do anything after that,
right?
And she was like, I couldn't say nothing. And so now I was like, dang, why did she tell me that quote? Because when I went in the temple, I felt the same way.
Yeah.
So definitely a much softer heart towards missions.
Yeah.
And like just more compassion for sure.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it is interesting because there's like kind of a stigma around missionaries. They're like, oh, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do.
I'm
missions.
gonna save them.
You know, you come back from church camp and you're hype and you're like you're ready to go. You're on fire. You're like, I'm gonna be a missionary. And we joke about that. There's a lot of memes around that like thing, you know, in like Christian schools and colleges and things like that. But at its core, it's a beautiful thing,
right?
And it's great, and it's needed. It's necessary. I mean, just like in any profession and any vocation, there's going to be people that do it the wrong way for the wrong reasons.
For sure.
So let's not ruin the vocation because of some bad people participating in it, you know. And that goes for anything. But you know, and so. Yeah, it truly is life-changing. And like, yeah, could you be just as effective for the gospel here? Yes. But not everybody's willing to move across the country. I'm not saying you are, but or the world. But like if you're listening to this and you may be, you know, in Garner, you may be willing to go to Durham.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you may be willing to go to downtown Raleigh. Or go to Clayton if you really don't want to go far. Like there are things you can do
100%.
In response to that burden that you're talking about. Because the lost people should burden you. It should create that burden. It should be something that creates a reaction, that generates a response. Like we talked about at Easter, like the resurrection demands a response. So like what is that? There should be a sense of urgency. We talk a lot about, like staff went to a conference this year, and one of the questions that was posed, you've probably heard this on the podcast like 14 times at this point, so I'm sorry if whoever's listening to this, but you know, like what would you do differently if you knew Jesus was coming back in 10 years? How would that change your day to day?
Yeah.
You know? And that should breed urgency. You know, not in like a you know, obviously you don't want to still be Bible thumping. It's got to be approachable, because the reality is this: like if you went into Thailand and you just in New York and all these places you were a part of, or anywhere for that matter, and you just go straight into Jesus loves you, you need to be saved, blah 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 blah, right? Like that is the goal, but that's not the lead in.
No.
And like you're saying, you got to do life with people. You got to meet those physical needs. You got to understand who they are as a person, because I mean, you've recently talked about this, but the world's not black and white.
No, man. Extremely gray.
The older I get, and you know, I'm only 28 years old, but the older I get, the world's extremely gray. And you said this to me recently. You were like, you know, logic is the minority.
For sure.
And I don't mean that's not like a negative thing. That's just the reality. And so people feel things. You know, you felt a response. You felt that burden. And I think like it's important to be, if you approach multiplication simply by logic, you won't really be effective.
It's going to be really cold.
It's going to be very cold, and it's going to be processed over people. And it's really easy to get to the point where you're, okay, like you're saying, if I don't see the fruit, then it's not successful.
Right.
And there is some truth to that. Like, obviously, if someone in your life says they're a believer and they don't have any fruit to show for it, that's not really what I'm talking about. But it's like, you know, you have to be willing to see it through and to love on people and understand that, like, it's not as simple as, hey, here's the Bible, now go and be a Christ follower.
Yeah.
Like, there's discipleship. And discipleship, there's going to be days where it's 3 steps back, 1 step forward, or 10 steps back, or you might just fall down.
Yes.
And then they need someone to help them pick them up. And yeah, that's what multiplication is. So what would you say to somebody you would think that, you know, because multiplication is a mindset. It starts with the individual. I think we think churches are the ones doing the multiplication, which is true, but the church is made up of what?
The people.
People.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's not an organizational thing as much as it is a collection of people with that mindset, that perspective, that are willing to multiply the gospel, right? Mm-hmm. So what would you say to someone, what's a practical way that, like, you know, I got a full-time job, so I don't have time to, I can't do this full stop.
Yeah.
But what do you think that looks like for people just in the day-to-day, like multiplication?
In Proverbs, it talks about it's the glory of God to conceal things, but the glory of kings, so like man, to reveal things that he has hidden for people. But the good thing about God is the Great Commission was very explicit. Yeah. He's like he revealed his heart for us to the nations and to his people that are lost.
Right.
So I mean, there's not a specific burden that I had that made me do this mission trip. It was just the fact that he told me to do it already. Yeah. It's like I didn't need a special dream. I didn't need a tingly feeling in my stomach. Like the Lord told me today to go. Like no, he already told everyone to go.
There's nothing wrong with that. If that happens to you, fans, that's awesome.
I'm saying you don't need that.
But you don't need that.
Don't be praying like, God, if this is your will for me, like, dog.
I don't know if I'm called, like you Matthew 28:19. You know what I'm saying? Like, go make disciples of all nations. Baptize in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
You're called.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the same thing. It's like God don't limit God in your circumstances. Like God called you to do that. So if you're strapped for time, it's not like God doesn't know that.
Right.
So like if you have a family, you're busy, you're a stay-at-home mom, you work a 9 to 5. Yeah. It's like there's always missional opportunities. Yeah. Like being a good listener to one of your coworkers, like actually having an event. Can I pray for you? Like that can seem like a wild step. Yeah. But if the Holy Spirit is prompting that in you, like he's gonna also equip you in that, which is one of the biggest things I had to learn as well. It's like he's not gonna like let me jump off the ledge and just fall on my face. Right. Like he's gonna call me to that ledge. True. I'm gonna be shivering. Yeah. Stomach's gonna be knotting up. And I'm gonna have to close my eyes and leap. Yep. And he's never not let me hit the ground.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and that's 100% true. Because I mean, at the same time, you know, it's tough because we just think it has to be this grandiose thing, and it doesn't have to be this grandiose. Some people are gonna be called to go live in a tribe in Africa for 10 years of their life. Like that's the minority.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I think one thing I've done too that's very helpful is like if you can pray for opportunities.
Yep, absolutely.
Like that goes a long way. Like you said, being a good listener. I mean, there's so many. We've been in the spiritual disciplines, right, recently at Quest. So it's like, yeah, all of those practices not only prep you, because a lot of times we think that, that's prepping me for my life and stuff that I can encounter. But what it really is, it's prepping you for others too. Yeah. It's prepping you for Matthew 28:19. You can't do that. You can't carry out Matthew 28:19, the Great Commission, if you don't have those other disciplines in place. 100%. If you're not in conversation with God, if you're not in God's word, if you're not practicing these stuff like fasting and learning how to be grateful, because like that's what is going to make the difference. That's going to
set you apart.
Correct. And when you get those opportunities, you got to be ready. Mm-hmm. You're like you stay in the gym, so when you go out to play, you're good to go. Yeah. You stay ready, so you ain't got to get ready. Amen. And that's what multiplication is. Always looking for the opportunities to multiply. Mm-hmm. And everybody has different resources and gifts and abilities, and where they're able to do that.
And I know at Quest we were also just in the season of people taking the spiritual gifts test. Yep. It's like there's so many practical steps that you can take in that gifting. Yep. Like you can be assured that you can have some sort of confidence. Like, oh, God has wired me this way to be effective in his kingdom for this use. Right. So like if I have the gift of mercy, then that means like I can let that light or just compassion that God has given me overflow to somebody else. So it's like also like keep your head up a little bit. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people, I feel like that's the biggest thing I've ever heard. Like, God wouldn't do that for me. I'm more of the sidelines, more in the background. I'm not that loud. I'm more timid. Yeah. It's like that kind of thing. Like, there's no side characters in the kingdom. It's like
that's a bar. Write that down. Write that down. Write that down. No, like, there's no side characters in the kingdom
for sure. Like, bro, like I promise, like you can be used if you stop getting in the way of God. Like he definitely gonna use you.
Yeah, because it's 100% agree. I got nothing else. that was perfect. That's a good way to end it. But I'm glad you got to experience that, and I think, if you're listening to this and you're wondering, sometimes it just takes some confidence.
Yeah,
it can be as simple as that. Take some confidence in who Christ is. Not who you are, but who's Christ built you to be. And it may not look like everybody else. It may look different. But the reality is God has called us all to that great commission, and we're all equipped to do that. He wouldn't call us something he's not equipped us to do.
Yeah.
And so, being confident in Christ is really the key.